Hi, everybody, and welcome into this latest edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter for Michigan State Spartans on SI Aidan Champion. Week 3 of fall camp, almost to a close. Spartans have their second scrimmage of fall camp tomorrow, and that's going to be a big one. Last week's was big, but this is separation week, and I feel like by the end of this scrimmage, you should be pretty close to knowing most of your depth chart. I don't know if that will be the case, but I think through 3 weeks and two scrimmages, you should feel pretty content with who you've got as your front runners in most of your position battles. But if you don't, that's not the worst thing either. I mean, competition, this team's got a lot of it right now, and that's all you can ask for in fall camp is the best competition you can get. And if you've got questions still of, who's going to start where, but you do know that you've got a lot of depth and you've got guys who are, um, competing for jobs and going to see significant snaps, you're in a pretty good spot because depth is obviously very key, and this team has a lot of it. I think more so than last year. And, if you can utilize all of fall camp as one big competition to ultimately settle on your depth chart, I mean, that's huge. It really is. And so I think you're in a really good spot right now. But I do, again, think that by the end of Saturday, you should be pretty comfortable with where you're at as far as the depth chart. But I want to talk about the offense. This has the potential to be a really great offense, um, and it needs to be for Michigan State to be successful this season. Obviously, last year the offense very inconsistent. That ultimately held it back. A big reason it was inconsistent was because it lacked a run game, and definitely need to have at least a solid run game. Doesn't have to be great, but something that you can lean on. Um, and so this team, I think, will have that this year. Again, we don't know yet who the starting running back is. I believe it'll be Elijah Tolliver, but I've said before, it doesn't really matter to me, at least, who ultimately wins that battle because one, I think it's going to be a running back by committee kind of approach, and two, it ultimately all comes down to how successful your offensive line is. I mean, it doesn't matter who you've got in the backfield if your offensive line is not good. And we saw that last year. Nate Carter, Karen Lynch Adams, great running backs, offensive line below average in terms of their production. On paper, they had some solid guys, but just could never be consistent up front, especially in the run game. And I do think they will be better in that area this season. And like I said, you have to be, especially, everyone's so excited about the passing game this year. You got what's expected to be a better Aiden Childs, and you've got a ton of receiving weapons for him, not just the wide receiver room, but also Jack Belling, who I think will take that step that we expected him to going into last season, and he didn't. But I think he will this season. I think the wide receiver room is going to help allow for him to have more opportunities to be open, and he's worked on his game as far as man coverage. I think he'll have better success beating opponents one on one, and that's absolutely huge. Um, to have Jack Velling when so much focus from defense is going to be placed on this great wide receiver core that you have, particularly with Nick Marsh, and then you've got other great receivers: Omari Kelly, Krishan McCray, Rodney Bullard. But in order for you to have success with the pass game, you got to have a decent run game. Run opens up the pass. That's, football 101. And so I think you will have that. And um, again, I think what really will help this run game is the fact that you can rely on multiple backs and not just Tal Tolliver, Brandon Tullis, and Makai Frazier. I think you could throw Jace Clurzio into that conversation as well. Him having had a solid scrimmage last weekend, as Jonathan Smith said. But if you've got four backs that you can mix in and out of there, um, different run styles, giving you fresh legs every few snaps or so. I mean, you can benefit a lot from that, and you got to take advantage of that. And from what we've heard, offensive line has been improved. I think overall, on paper, you've got a better offensive line this season. So in that regard, I do think the run game will be better. And then with Childs and the improvement that we're expecting him to have made, that's essentially an extra running back in the backfield um, with how dangerous he can be on his feet. And, that just puts even more pressure on defenses. You're worried about these receiving weapons. Well, you've got Aiden Childs back there who, if you do manage to lock up this receiving core, he can beat you on his feet. And that's something that Michigan State's own defense is dealing with in practice right now with having to contain Childs, and that's only going to make them better. Coach Laney and Rush Ends coach Chad Wilt have talked about it. That that's huge for them to be able to go up against a mobile quarterback like Childs, considering that they're going to see some of those this season, some of the best in the country. Big Ten has a lot of great quarterbacks, in Michigan State certainly going to be having to contain several of them this season. But that's where I think the offense is at. Um, and I just think it all comes down to the run game. Got to be at least decent in the run game. You have to be consistent. There can't be games where you just absolutely can't get any traction on the ground. Got to be every single game, and that's only going to allow for you to thrive in turn with the passing game. So I think Michigan State will do that. I'm, the other thing with all that is that when you are able to be consistent in both departments, then you can open up the playbook. You can start throwing some trick plays in there. Um, you can, as the season progresses, you can add to your playbook, which you need to do once defenses start figuring you out from tape. Um, I think that's going to be crucial too. You have to be able to adapt, and you got to open up your playbook. And I think Michigan State will be able to do that this season. And I'm interested to see what they're able to do in that regard. How much they're able to open the playbook and really exploit the offensive weapons they have. So that will be very interesting to see. And I think this could be a really great Michigan State offense. I really do. So let me know what you all think about the potential of this offense, how you think the run game is going to be if they dive deeper into the playbook this season. And would love to hear your thoughts. As always, thank you all for tuning in. Always appreciate your engagement. You can find all of our content on Michigan State Spartans on SI, giving you tons of daily content, giving you coverage from fall camp and August 29th, just around the corner. Michigan State will open its season against Western Michigan at home, Friday Night Lights, and should be an interesting season. So as always, thanks again, and I hope you're all having a great week, and I hope you have an even better weekend ahead. Thanks, everyone.